So the draft's starting a bit late too, again. Shame these VODs. But we have a Renekton B1. I mean, Renekton went okay last game, but see, one of the things I think that people do this a lot, B1, is because they just want to save resources for other members of their team, like in the draft, so they can actually see things. And now Rise is actually up. I don't see why they didn't take it. I don't know why Scav doesn't want to play it. But that would have been a much better B1. But I can see what they're doing. On blue side, you want to hold the kind of resources for your bot lane. So we've got Syndra and Volibear. Now, this is really good. Now, I'm curious if they know about this Syndra going in bot lane. Because Syndra can actually flex into bot lane very, very well. Especially if they pick something like Aphelios. Oh, it's banned. But why would you ban Aphelios if you're going to take Syndra? You could just flex it into bot. That goes to show that Elk just doesn't really play Mage's bot, which isn't the end of the world. But that's probably, you know, it could be one of the reasons why they're not Outworlds. But so we got the Volibear again. That's going to be flexed. I mean, Volibear is actually a very good matchup into Renekton too because of the way Volibear works. So we could actually just see that go top lane and then a good jungle pick. Viego here. I don't get, if you want to pick Viego there anyway, why not just pick it B1? It doesn't really make much sense. So we've now got a Sylas. So Sylas is kind of good into Syndra, but like I said, they could have just flexed out. But so Sylas is a good pick. So we're seeing some Sylas come out. So I'm liking this so far. They've just got 2 OPs. Patch 11.5 as well. Sylas was pretty good. They did take the Jace, which they so that means they're going to put the Jace into the Renekton. Although they can mid it, but I don't know if they played Jace mid. But I think putting the volley into Renekton would have just been the best option and then just save resources. I don't see why you'd reveal anything in R3, especially when they have jungle mid now. You have mid as well, but here one thing you can do as well is you can just pick an OP and then ban their 2 biggest counters here. So we see a Kalista ban, we see an Ezreal ban, which means they want to play towards topside. So they're trying to force them into play topside right now, which means they're confident in this Viego Renekton 2v2 against Jace and Volibear. So they're just banning away. So AD spot, they're just pinching the bot pool. So they're just looking to get rid of anything that could be a problem. But Ziggs is a good ban. I was going to say Varus. But Ziggs is also good because it gets rid of that kind of safety. And they've played Ziggs multiple games in a row. Now, Ashe does have long range. And she's very, very good. Oh, they actually go with the Braum here. Braum volley is very good too. I would like to see the Ashe with the Braum anyway. So this is good. This is good. The draft isn't too bad so far. Like here we have an interesting Renekton, but then these 2 picks are good. So now it's on what they go here. So they banned Ezreal, which means they either want to play very hard towards bot lane or not towards bot lane at all. So the fact that they're picking Varus means I don't think they're looking to play towards bot side. They're going to just probably, Leona here and just play towards other lanes and roaming. I don't think taking Rel here is going to have the same impact as what it did in the last game. I do think Rel is very, very powerful, but I guess they do have a very all-in kind of comp again. This will... now the problem is here, the Varus should go lethality because he needs to stay as far away as possible from the Jace and the Syndra and try and trade some of that poke back with them before his team can kind of all-in and kind of clean up. So... oh, I mean, no, they don't. They're not gonna. They're just taking the mic. They're not gonna vein into that because, like, you just can't really vein into a Varus poke. Ashe is probably the best option. Ashe Braum, very good lane, but that would mean they have to play towards it, which I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they want to because I mean, although I mean. They probably do actually want to, because that way they can get Volibear like super fed, also Syndra when she comes down for rotations, and the Jace just has to not die here. Now the reason I don't really like Jace here is because we have a ton of setup in bot lane for anybody that wants to go there, which is great. But this EGD roster is also going to be looking to play towards this top side. So it's like, instead of looking to play to top side, you want to try and, since you can't match them, you want to reduce some of the impact that they have on that top by, you know, top playing something like a tank or an enchanter that can just play safe, and then just play around that as much as you can. Like, play around them playing safe and you just hard smashing bot lane. Because, I mean, it's a Varus Rel. They're not really going to have massive opportunities to do that much. He did go with Cleanse, which is smart. Okay, runes here. Okay, we got... Okay, everything looks standard. Gathering Storm. The Syndra is an intellectual. That's what we like to see. Ashe going for the cut down. I guess that's fair. Okay, so they're just trying to kind of zone him off the wave as much as possible, get a bit of damage while they can. Again, this bot lane is going to be kind of the deciding factor of this game, in my opinion. Or how much this Jace kind of grates. Now, we have seen from WE that they very much prioritize getting this top lane ahead, which, you know, to try and shut out their Renekton. Okay, so Shanks with a really big trade on Scout. Okay, really big trade. Now, this is really good because, like, Scout shouldn't have ever walked up there when he knows he's going to lose level 2. Because Syndra is always going to just kill him or chunk him out too much. Like, he needs to get to that level 2 so that he can go in for a big trade with his E and then, you know, either use his Q to do an extra damage or use his W to heal him back up at the end and maybe go for the kill. I don't think he can get full kill pressure yet. He needs level 3. But one of the advantages, though, of that is, as we can see, in mid lane now, because Syndra went for that really big trade, she's ended up pushing the second wave in, which now means that Scout can slow push the third wave, which could be beneficial. Now, I've seen him do this quite a lot, but one of the things that I've never noticed is the jungler doesn't come to punish the Syndra for this wave 2 slow push. Or sorry, this wave 2 push. So because of that, I feel like this is very, very unfortunate when it comes to these fights. Now, he's going to go for this. Unfortunately, he misses a W, so he can't continue going for it. Volibear is a massive skirmishing early game jungler that can do so much damage, so I can see why he doesn't want to fully commit to it. And Volley is very much an early game jungler. Oh, let me make it big. So, I mean, to be honest, the way WE have performed, even, like, I haven't seen anything about the teams prior to these reviews, but the fact that EDG was 12-4, and WE was only 10-6, and they were 7th going against the 2nd seed, like, that's very, very impressive. Like, they did well in this playoffs. Okay. So, what we're looking for now is just what they decide to do in this mid game. Now, I think Viego's just looking to hard farm for 6, but I think he's really missing an opportunity because you have an immobile mid laner here in Syndra, and you have so much setup with the Sylas, it's unreal. So, like I've said quite a few times, we'll wait till the fight's gone over. So, like I've said, like, when you're looking for lanes to gank, you want to look for lanes where you have CC, or if you have the CC, you bring them to the lane, because that's just, you know, it's your way of guaranteeing the kill. You need damage, because obviously you can't get a kill with no damage. This is why ganking like an Ornn versus Sion lane is just completely pointless, unless Sion's a lethality, but we're not going to take that into consideration. And then you need to consider the mobility that is in that lane as well. So if, say, for example, you have, like, you're playing against a LeBlanc, it's very hard to gank this unless you have a massive amount of CC because of the mobility she has. So these are the things that you're looking for. Now, Sylas has the ability to gap close, which is sort of mobility. He's playing against a champion that has no mobility, and also he has a shit ton of CC that you can chain off, and he can get his Q with the empowered kind of intersection very well. So the fact that Viego hasn't really shown mid here very much when they have this very hard winning mid 2v2 is kind of interesting. See, now he's going, but he's going like when she's pushed the wave in. The Syndra should never be here. So it's completely grief by the Syndra to even be up this far. And see, as you can see, the stun still goes off from the chains, which then ends up getting the Syndra's flash. Now, if this, if Junjia doesn't actually punish Syndra for not having flash here, I'm going to be very, very upset. Like, extremely upset. So okay. So this top, I mean, is fine. Like, it's not really, nothing major is going on. Renekton, yeah, okay, there we go. I was going to say Renekton needs to trade here about getting 6. Oh, that's so sad, though. Just one more auto. Okay, Viego picks it up. Okay, nice. That's first blood over to Viego. That's very, very good. Now, Viego is one of those champions where if you get some early kills, you literally snowball very hard. I mean, he returns it, but it doesn't really matter. He's still got that first blood, which is putting him roughly 300 gold above the enemy Volibear, which is great, you know, considering Volibear is an early game kind of jungler, and Viego kind of pops off towards this mid-game kind of point. So I actually really like the fact that they did trade the skill here. And Renekton gets to force a wave in too, which means they get an advantage in terms of XP. So yeah, really nice to see. Syndra's in top side at the moment, but again though, Syndra's flash is now, you know, 2.5 minutes off cooldown, and she hasn't been punished for it once. So this is a replay of it. So here we can see the Renekton jump on him. So I think he didn't buffer his auto. Oh no, so he didn't buffer his auto, he just instantly W'd, and that got him. So if he would have jumped on top of him, auto, and then instantly W, he would have actually just got the kill there and then, which would have been first blood, which is fine on the Renekton, he gets lane pressure, and then the Viego wouldn't have also died for it. Now, it's still okay that the Viego got a first blood, but overall, the problem with Viego as well is pre-6, he's very, like, he can skirmish very well, but he's also very vulnerable, because pre-6, if you take over a body, you can't expel that body without your ultimate, so you end up stuck with it. So if, say, for example, a champion has no items and you're doing well, like, you're going to end up stuck with that pre-6. So, and I mean, most champions will have no items early into the game. Now, we can see him going for this Phage first, and that's kind of nice because it gives him a little bit more grit, allows him to survive a bit more, and the HP regen off it is massive, so that's going to be very good for him, especially when he's in fights. We can see them walking up in the jungle, nice little sidestep from Raldo. Now, they're starting this Herald. Now, this is very risky because it's 5v5 right now, and nobody really has an entire lead, so this is basically where they're just trying to force fights. Now, okay, he's completely dead. Like, if he doesn't, okay, he uses flash. So now he's completely zoned out from the fight, so we can't really do that much, and he doesn't have level 6. So now we're fighting against level 6 when we don't have him on the bot lane because they're slightly behind. Now Scout does actually manage to kill that, and then the Varus gets his ult off the kill and manages to actually turn this around. So this turned out okay due to Scout managing to completely one-shot somebody, but this was a very, very kind of risky fight to take. It was very high variance because Varus was waiting, and the Rel, they were both waiting on those initial kills in order to get their level 6, so it was nicely timed in terms of their XP, just because WE might have seen their levels and thought, we can fight this. But again, this Syndra, like, first item Oblivion Orb, like, I know it's a Silas, but you're not really looking to interact with the Silas as much in lane, you're looking to just scale up. Like, I feel like Oblivion Orb this early just completely kind of gets rid of your ability to do anything early. Like, I really don't like it, and it seems like it's such a common build in China. Like, it's all the time. Okay, so now Silas is very, very fed. Now this was already a kind of good matchup for him, but he's extremely fed now. Because the thing is, if Viego ganks a Silas, like, he just has to land his chains, and even if Syndra forces him away, if the chains were going to hit from when he first used them, then they'll still hit and they'll still go through, and it does a lot of damage. Like, you will always, if you go follow up CC in jungle like a Viego, you will always manage to get those flashes. Okay, Scout gets caught here. Okay, so they're on the dragon, but they're not doing the dragon for the dragon. They're doing it to get picks, which doesn't really make much sense because it could be an Infernal or a Mountain Soul, which are both very good souls. So I guess they got the pick and then went into the dragon, but they just allowed the Viego to get the dragon. So I don't think that was worth, to be honest, getting one kill in return for that dragon, especially now it's Mountain Soul as well. So now, if either team want to win, especially EDG, because they've got kind of a lot more, like they've got quite tanky members in kind of like the Renekton. Jace doesn't really provide as much tank as Renekton does. They're actually going to reset that. Like, that's so sad that Volley didn't have Smite, actually. Otherwise, he would have actually been able to steal that blue buff. But they're going to just kill Jace here. Like, Jace just saw this entire thing go down in the river, and he just did nothing about it. Like, he didn't even run. So that's really bad. Like, those kind of inconsistencies are huge. Okay, so we can see that they actually returned it in bot lane for plates. We did get a Herald for the Volibear, which, you know, is a little bit of a shame, especially since they've got so many plates on bot side right now. I'd look for this Volley to just come down and instantly drop Herald down there, and then they'll get that first turret. It gives the Varus some gold, but I don't know what he's building. Let's have a look at the replay anyway. So the Syndra manages to kind of lock Scout down for long enough that Volibear can get on top of him with his flash, and then they managed to get the kill. It was pretty simple. There was no reason to really replay that, but I mean, if they want it, then. So Varus, first big mistake. Why has he gone for Duskblade? Like, why does he need haste this game when his arrows are the only thing that's going to keep him alive? Now, I do like the fact that he went with the lethality kind of build path instead of on hit, because I don't think he can ever go on hit this game because they've got too much range in Syndra and the Ashe and the Jace. So that's very bad. Now, they do have a poke comp, so W do still have the opportunity to win this game based on just poking them out before they can actually engage, since one of the main things with poke comps is that kind of if you can poke them out before they get the ability to all in, then the all in isn't as potent and you can maybe even kill them with reduced overall all-in damage. Okay, so we've got this away. So that's good. Ashe is fairly strong. And they managed to get their first tower. Renekton is going to get a lot of plates top, and they do need somebody else to come down and help defend this. Because they could just look for a dive here. They've got Volibear with his ultimate. This is really bad. They've overstayed an unbelievable amount. And now that's meant that, you know, Viper's had to use his flash, and they don't get kills, but they do get both flashes and Varus Cleanse and Relic Knight, I think. So they've got all summoners out of bot lane for no good reason. Like, when you're playing against a Volibear, you have to consider that he can look to dive you at any point that he feels fit, because his ultimate turns off the tower. So the fact that they're not taking that into consideration at this level of play is very, very worrying. Like, very, very worrying. Like, you don't expect this from kind of games of this caliber, should I say. Okay. So Renekton pushes this in, and oh, Jace is actually looking to freeze, maybe? I can't tell because the observer's moved, but I think oh no, he's just looked to push it back out and then reset. So he could have just froze that wave and then recalled on the freeze, because his minions get buffs now because they've got towers, which means they do more damage. By a quite considerable amount more too. Okay. So Ashe is on her spike. I mean, Syndra, because she's gone with this Oblivion Orb, she still doesn't have Eludens, which is horrendous to see, because she's missing out on so much magic penetration. It's unreal. So they're fighting for this Herald, but I don't think this Herald's good to fight for. I think they're fighting for it just because they want to get kills. This Herald is terrible at this stage of the game, especially with Dragon coming up right now. They do manage to get it on the side of EDG, but at what cost? They do manage to get a really good Varus ult off though, and then Renekton just jumps on. Unfortunately, they do Zhonya's on the volley, so he manages to survive here, and then they actually run them down. So here they're just not paying attention to what items they have, because they should have known that Volibear has stopwatch that he can use. This is an amazing Rel ult though, and then Varus is trying to do damage, but he just can't quite get... sorry, Viego is trying to do damage, but he just can't get in. That was a really nice rel ult, but again, it was just too late. There was nothing that could come out of it at that point. So this is looking very good for WE again. I think again WE are showing that they're the better early game team. And they're playing extremely well in the early game. Obviously, there's a lot of mistakes, but every single early game they've done well. So if we look over at the replay, we can see that they get the Herald. Obviously, Rel tanks the Ashel, which is really good, but then she's in a lower form, so she can't do much. The volley ult, so the Renekton is just sitting duck now, and then he just goes after him again, and they just instantly kill him off since he doesn't have that HP back from his ult, and then they use a blast gun to chase him down as well. Viper gets hit by every single Braum Q, and even though Rel gets an amazing 3-man ult, it doesn't really matter because they just run them down. So they do nearly get the Viego as well, because, you know, Viego can't really get in there and do any extra damage because he's melee. So it's very, very scuffed. It's an unfortunate situation to be in. I think EDG are kind of inting. But the kind of gold difference isn't that far ahead. I mean, it is about 2,000 gold, and they've just managed to get another tower in bot lane, should do. And they've managed to get another dragon, which these mountains, like I previously said, are so valuable because it's 6% resistances for both armor and magic resist early into the game. So this is very good, and if they keep stacking these dragons, if they get another 3 of them, they're going to be so tanky that there's nothing that WE can really do. So this is like the win condition that they're going to be playing towards right now, and I think that's the only way that they're going to actually win this game, I want to say. Purely because, I mean, Viego can get a load of resets, and he will outscale Volibear. Syndra can potentially just one-shot the Varus later into the game because he's gone lethality, so he doesn't have the ability to go things like Wit's End. So he's going to get very, very heavily kind of pushed out later on into the game. And we're going to really see them struggle a little bit. But overall, I think the combo that they have with, obviously, Silas, Rel, Renekton kind of jumping in, I do think EDG still have a very, very big chance to win. Especially considering they have got quite a lot of pressure, considering. And the gold difference is only 3k with 3 kills down and a tower down. So they're not doing too bad, and I think they can definitely come back in. Jace's farm is heavily letting down his team. Okay, so they're looking to just force his mid in. And then just try and get vision throughout the jungle. Viego is looking to just steal this red buff away, which is quite big, but they do know that this is happening, so they are going to look to move. This is going to be another one of those situations where they fight for like a buff, but they might actually just go kill Jace. Okay, so Viego's damage is very big right now. Rel misses her ult because the Jace flashes, but they did get Jace flash there. The Ashe actually manages to get the red buff, but they managed to get the Jace's flash for the red buff, so that's worth in my opinion. And they're gonna just push this mid tower in, and they're just looking for prio. Like, all EDG need to do in this game now is just kind of, they can afford to aram it a little bit. They do need to make sure that somebody's catching these sideways, but what they could do is they could just send Renekton or even Viego to be, nah, not Viego because he's got the smite, but they could just send Renekton into the side lanes, just keep clearing out the side lane and then resetting, because right now all they're really looking to do is wait until 1 minute 50 for this next dragon spawn, and then just take the dragon out and just play towards that. That's all they need to do in this game, and they'll end up winning it. Now, if WE manage to get more picks before the dragons are available and actually manage to get a good enough gold lead, then they're actually going to stop that win condition happening. But EDG are very, very good around playing for dragons. Okay, so they are just trying to keep vision control of this bottom side of the map, because WE do realize that they're going to look for, a really, really big flank wall though. Renekton can look to just jump over the wall here and get loads of them. This is actually really good. They managed to pick off the Jace instantly, and now the Rel got a really nice ult off. The Viego's got his resets now as well, so he's just going to go crazy. I think that even though this is looking bad for EDG right now, they can actually turn this fight very easily, since they have Poke Virus and... I mean, they had Poke Virus, should I say. And they have Scout and the fact that Viego is huge. So here we go. So yeah, they just turn it. And instantly the Viego gets a shutdown there. And they manage to get multiple kills. They're not going to be able to run this down. But they can just instantly do Baron here. And this is the game-winning play. So this was a really good TP flank from Flandre, actually. Like, they didn't find that ward in the river, which is why it's important to sweep the entire area. And that ended up with him just kind of teleporting in, and they get so much. Now, they are just going to trade it for a dragon. Even though this is a shame because they are playing towards that win condition, if they do manage to use this Baron buff to its kind of full effect, then they will just kind of they'll negate the need to actually get to Soul now. So that's actually a really big positive. It just reset to troll them, I guess. So they actually get this dragon. So we can see another replay of this. So this TP behind was so good. He manages to get directly on top of the Jace with this and instantly kill him. He should have gone on someone like the Ashe, but it's a little bit more out of the way. So they managed to instantly kill Jace. Viego gets reset, and then, you know, they kind of jump in and do a ton of damage. And Viego then manages to actually escape and get out. Goes and heals a little bit off the crab, and then the Varus actually has a perfect flash, which stops the E from the Syndra actually getting him. Silas with an amazing E again to actually catch the Syndra. She instantly dies, and then Viego gets a lovely 700 gold shutdown. So this was a huge swing in terms of momentum in this game. And if they use this Baron properly now, they're going to start breaking the base, and that's going to actually secure them more mountain dragons as well. So this was really good. I think one of the things they could have done there is maybe look to have one person just quickly kill off the dragon and then maybe send forth the Baron, but I don't think they wanted to run those kind of risks and let somebody die to dragon if they come to it. Instead, they're just going to play it slow and just play the game out. Especially since they have Baron now, they can siege way easier. So the Volibear is actually top right now with the Jace. So they're trying to siege this top tower right now, and they'll just get it quite easily. So that's 600 gold in Flandre's back pocket because everybody else is backing away from it. Okay, no, it did share with the Rel. Just didn't back away fast enough. So now what they're looking to do is they have top tier 2 open. They just want to send Renekton bot lane for him to get bottom tier 2 right now and keep this pressure up in mid lane. Keep clearing out jungle camps whenever they're available, and just play towards that. Silas is actually going to clear bot lane out instead. But some poke on Beishan. Scout managed to steal the Volibear ultimate, so now the dive is actually a possibility. They're actually going to back out, get another wave, and then look to dive, I think. So this is actually really important, and this is why Silas is very strong. Because he can just do so much. So yeah, he's actually going for this flank. The Viego's just inside his invisibility. The Rel's actually put her E on top of the Silas, so as soon as he E's, he's going to get that double stun. Okay, so he had to E over the wall to safety. He wasted his chains because there was no one to actually connect them with. And now they are just going to siege on this base. They do have a poke lethality Varus as well, so he can poke them out. They are just going to back away though and just accept the tier 2. As long as they're getting turrets like this, then they are kind of bringing back this gold lead and they are winning. And as we can see now, they have roughly about a 3k gold lead, which that has very heavily flipped. And a lot of this is actually Varus's play. Like, the fact that he's poking them out so much is very important. I'd like if they showed some sort of stats about how much damage is... Oh, okay. So, let's see, it's not really... So Scout is obviously a ridiculous amount of KP, but he is also playing mid lane. So I don't really think it's fair to show those stats. I would have much preferred to see how much damage the, say, Varus has done in comparison to the Silas, because obviously Varus is poke, but he's still got a lot more damage in his auto attacks than what Silas does, so you'd expect him to have higher damage, not by much, but slightly higher. Just to kind of see how much he's been doing, really. I keep accidentally closing this, and my PC is bad, so it takes ages to open. Okay, so Syndra just taking away the camps. Volibear's in bot side anyway. By the time he gets there, they're going to be respawned pretty much with that 2 minutes 15 timer. So it's no big deal that she's taking it. And it also allows the wave to come into her so she can farm it safely. Unfortunately, she's going to die here. There's no way she doesn't. Like, she just pushed up way too far with no tier 2 tower, and now she dies. Now, this is one of the reasons why tier 2 towers are so important, because you can take the tier 2s, and then you can just keep repeatedly punishing them for trying to farm those side waves, because the next kind of line of defense is in their base, which is of no use. So, unfortunately, now EDG are in a position where they're really just pushing down this game now. Now, Ashe has got a Lord Dominic's now too, which is going to be very, very big. It's going to allow it to actually deal damage to the Renekton and the Sylas and the Viego when he gets a bit of armor, if he does get a bit of armor. And the Rel too, to be honest. So, keep double tapping this. So, EDG have complete control over this dragon area right now. They might lose tier 1. Actually, never mind. They might be able to just clear it off. So here at this point, you just accept the tier 1 to go and then just instantly do dragon. Like, there's no point trying to contest it like this. I guess he's trying to get some poke off with his Q, which is nice. Actually, they don't even get the tower. So Varus did actually manage to clear the waves off with his Q nicely. So this was actually a really good play. So that was my bad. But they managed to get that dragon. They get those resistances buffs. The base is basically in shambles, so what they need to do now is get this tier 2 bot, keep this Renekton kind of pushing this bot lane in, and then just look to try and go for a Baron and just end with that Baron. So they are actually all converging on it already. Scout's actually taking the red buff. He will take this too. He doesn't have TP though, so it's very risky that he's at this bottom side of the map, especially considering WE are kind of converging right now, because Scout's not going to be here for this fight. So this is actually... This was really bad that they were even trying to force it. But they do manage to get vision control of the area, even though they are 4v5, which doesn't really make sense, but I guess they're just worried about where the Sylas is. And this is kind of one of the advantages of the fact he was farming the jungle. They don't really see him on wards. They did just spot him on that ward in a little pixel brush by the Raptor ward, but doesn't really matter too much because they had already backed away from the Baron. If they'd have saw him there earlier, maybe they would have looked to try and force, but at this point, they just didn't really bother. Okay, so at this point, Scout's passive is allowing him to instantly clear. He does have that Rabadon spike too, so he's very, very strong. Varus is also on 3 items. It's not as valuable. I do think it would have been way better if he went Prowler's Claw, because he gets more lethality out of it, which he's never really in a position to use the invisibility in a game like this, especially when they're also kind of going to be looking to poke him. So that's really, really bad. And Prowler's Claw also gives him that ability to kind of re-navigate the kind of fights and get to safety too. So right here, see, he's taking Braum Qs. Oh god, so that was a very bad ultimate out of him. Like, he's not really playing it as well as he should be. I feel like this isn't a comfort champ of his, but it does kind of work. Viego using his E just to kind of have the invisibility, or the camouflage, sorry. And yeah, so now they're actually looking for a go. Rel can just jump in. Junji, okay. So yeah, they just got caught out. They were trying to clear vision, but instead of clearing vision as a 5, they were clearing vision as a split unit. So this is really bad for them. WE are really feeling the pressure now, and I think this is because they've won 2 games already, and they just need to win this 1 game. So the pressure is really on them now, since they, you know, they only need 1 more, whereas EDG need this game and another one to win. So I think they're just really, really... they're getting pressured a lot. Their early game is very good, but I feel like WE really breaks down in this mid game. Obviously, we're not really analysing them as much, but they break down massively in this kind of mid game when it comes to kind of fights that, you know, aren't that great, or they don't really position too great around them. They've just given away this Baron, which is bad, and Varus actually managed to land his ult for a change on the Jace. So this is very good. They'll get this Baron here, and then this Baron isn't going to only allow them to siege the base, it's also going to allow them to siege the base while Viego just goes and kills the dragon instantly, since they can't really retreat now. Like, the enemy can't contest a dragon, because if they contest dragon while they have Baron, they're just going to push their inhibs and they're going to lose the game off it. Even if they get the mountain through maybe like a good smite steal from Beijing, even though he doesn't really have the same tools that he did on Olaf. It should be fine. So this was replay next big fight. They managed to get a lot of them. Scout just popped off. Scout is having the game of his life this one. He's really doing well. Definitely MVP this one, I think. Viego is also doing well, don't get me wrong, but Scout has been kind of that person pulling the trigger, and I think this champ pull for him is much better because his champions, you know, what did he play last game? So last game, again, he played the Yasuo, and now he's playing the Sylas, so they're champions that can kind of pull the trigger, which I think is what he needs, because Scout is a very good player. He's been known as a good player for a long time, but, you know, some of these games, especially the first two, he was extremely shaky. So now we've got a really big team fight going on here. Well, it will be soon. They're looking to just siege out with Varus Poke and Baron. So Sylas is also pushing mid lane in, which is great. What I would like to see here is Sylas to finish pushing this mid lane out and then go and push top lane while they're sieging bot, and then they can siege basically 3 inhibitors at the same time, which could be very, very useful. Like, they have to give this 2-2 tower away because they've got this kind of cannon in a position where in theory, they should have blocked that Ash W so that it didn't kill a cannon off, but that's fine. So now they're just going to keep up the siege. They've got buffed minions in mid and top. Okay, they left those buffed minions in mid. The Viego is just going to look to instantly kill this tower. Okay, so he does get it, and they're continuously sieging bot, so they're using Baron quite nicely, bouncing between, because now the Viego can come back into bot lane, siege this with them, and then they just get double inhib anyway. So now they're going to get both of these inhibitors with this Baron siege, and then all they need to do is, to be honest, Sylas could probably just TP to this top wave right now and push that in with Baron too, and they'll just get triple inhib. Like, he's not going to be using his TP for anything useful anytime soon, he just needs to go and catch that wave and get it crushed in. Or the Renekton, like either or, because right now they're trying to siege, like when they, I mean they can, but I mean it's not going to be nice, like the cannons don't really do enough damage to champions to mean anything, unless you've got a lot of them. I think they're just looking to end, but it's a very risky end, so Scout flashes in and a great relo. Okay, so we get the Everfrost on 2, and they just melt them actually, they're very far ahead. And yep, so this fight is a little bit longer than expected. I mean, Flandre is up front kind of keeping things together. The Varus is missing Q after Q after Q. And he's just missed his ultimate as well, which is really, really bad. Now again, like I said, this is complete fiesta because there's still a wave hard pushing in top and they had Baron. So it's not the safest way to end, but I think they do just end here. Okay, so again, very sloppy, like in certain parts, but overall a pretty good game. Scout really, really showed why he used to be considered one of the best. So yeah, this was actually a really good game 4. So this is now game 5 where everybody's going to be... them tension wraps on his arms are actually really smart. Like, they're really, really good if you're playing under a lot of strain. So yeah, so let's go into the last game. Overall, this one was pretty solid, but... I mean, for EDG, but overall there was still some really, really big mistakes.